r/AskReddit. Teachers of Reddit. Have you ever had a crush on a student? What happened? Someone I know dated their freshman English teacher right after leaving high school. She had a few kids with him. One of those kids is me. Edit. People on the internet are nice. I've had a couple crushes on some high school juniors and seniors as a teacher. What happened was I am a person with judgment and self-control and not an animal, and kept that shit to myself and did my job and wished them good luck when they graduated. But if I felt any physical attraction to a student who was emotionally immature, that shit faded quickly since I am not attracted to children. A cute 17-year-old who acts like a kid is hard to see as an adult. A cute 17-year-old who acts like an adult is hard to see as a kid. But again, I'm not tempted to act on every single impulse. I taught in a pretty rough Chicago public school 5 years ago and one of my freshman students had a hard crush on me. He was a gangbanger but was so sweet. He would bring me an apple every day, always offered to stay after class to help clean the chalkboard, and even wrote me a love poem for Valentine's Day. I have to admit, he was pretty cute and I was flattered. I sucked his dong one day after class. I figured, he's 38 years old, what's the worst that could happen? Loved this story. Teaching undergrad uni students. I'm a PhD student. Had a crush and did nothing. On 2 occasions however, students had crushes on me and did act. One went nowhere. For the other I waited until I wasn't teaching them anymore. Currently still going out with them. It's hot. I thought one of my college profs had a crush on me. I definitely had a crush on him. Then one day he said, "Sarah, I have to tell you something." I braced myself for a sexy professor college makeout sesh. "You look just like my sister. Homp homp." He didn't hit on me until after I graduated. He was my school cop and taught the law enforcement class. Nearly my dad's age. And married. He is super attractive though. I would have gone to Pound Town if he didn't have a wife. Edit. Obligatory thank you to the kind stranger for the gold. This really blew up. I think because of my choice of verbiage. Everyone who has been to Pound Town, I love you. My most upvoted comment is about my high school cop wanting to duck me. Not bad. This was back in the late 70s. But my so's aunt started teaching high school right after college. She was 21. Her first year on the job she developed a crush on this high school junior. He was 17 at the time. Anyway, they flirted and hung out after school all the time, and once he turned 18 they started dating. They are now married and have been for 40+ years. They think the story is adorable and tell everyone. As a former teaching, I cringe every time I hear it. I had a teacher that ended up hooking up with a student, like days after graduation. I don't think he teaches anymore. I also had a student teacher invite me to a party when I was in high school. That was a nice ego booster. The professors would go to the parties. Oh yeah, they were always the most fun. I'm a teacher and there are some cute seniors that I have as students. However, if you ever find yourself actually attracted to any of them, a great way to get over that is to just talk with them for a few minutes. That works regardless of age. I had the situation in reverse. The student had a huge crush on me. She arranged her classes, free time and extra projects so that we'd always be in the same area or room. As cute as she was, I was consistently careful and professional in my approach, keeping her at arm's length and showing her no more attention than other students. She was tenacious, but rather than embarrass her in front of peers or faculty, I took the long approach, wearing her down incrementally by maintaining appropriate even-handedness despite her overt gestures and expressions. Eventually, it worked. It was taxing for me, but I took satisfaction knowing that I didn't cause her to become the subject of gossip or mean-spirited speculation. I wouldn't say that I ever had a crush, but there are definitely girls that are really attractive and likable. I had a lot of girls, and even a few boys who seemed to have crushes on me, but it doesn't go anywhere. Because I wouldn't cross that line. I had one girl walk up to me and say, "I'ma holler at you at the end of the year," and then proceed to bite her lip in a very suggestive way. I didn't even know who the hell that girl was. I had another girl who I absolutely adored come see me on the last day. I was leaving the school, but she was not in dress code at all. She was wearing 2 thin tank tops and the tiniest shorts I've ever seen. It was definitely not dress code approved, but since it was the last day she got away with it. She kept hugging me goodbye and hanging all over me, and I have to admit that I was getting a bit turned on by it. She actually followed me out to my car to say goodbye, and when we parted for the last time there was this agonizing moment of awkwardness where it seemed like she was waiting for me to give her a kiss or something. One time in the cafeteria, after I had just started teaching, I saw this beautiful teacher wearing a tight-fitting wrap dress watching over the lunch line. She looked absolutely poured into that dress, so I had to go talk to her. I went up, introduced myself and we started talking. We flirted a bit while we talked, and things seemed to be going good, because she initiated an arm squeeze on me when I made a joke. We parted after a little bit, and she walked off and sat down at one of the tables with the students. I thought to myself, that's cool. She eats with her students. I'm doing my lunch duty thing, which largely involves standing around, and every once in a while I'll look over at the hot teacher and we exchange glances and smiles. At this point I figure that I need to find out where her room is so I can drop by later and talk her up some more. I figure I can just tell her I'm going to make copies, and see if she needs anything run off while I'm at it. I'm in the middle of talking with one of my students, so I ask them, what does that lady over there in the dress teach and where is her room at? My student simply replies back, she's in my French class, but I don't know her. At that point it clicks in my head that she's a student, and worse, that I've been flirting with a student throughout lunch. Mortified, I fled the cafeteria and hid in my room. I had another lunch duty the next day, but I couldn't even bring myself to go to it, because I was so embarrassed. Nice try FBI. Not today. They would never do such a thing. Not me, but a friend of mine is a teacher for high schoolers. When he started, he was only 3 or 4 years older than the seniors, 17-18 years, so he said it was really awkward having thoughts where a student was attractive because he was a teacher now. He also told me that he often got gifts and love notes from students back then too. Edit. Typo. Got it guys. I am a female teacher. I have been teaching for less than 10 years. I have had 2 students who, I can't say I've crushed on them. I've certainly been attracted to them. Both were in my first few years of teaching. The students were 17-18, and the attraction to them came from absolutely nowhere. It was like being smacked in the head with a bat both times. They were both very tall, intelligent, goofy, cuddly looking gingers. I have a thing. One made a pass at me during graduation about 6 years ago. He followed me to my classroom during the ceremony when I left to change my shoes, but I firmly and politely declined and got the hell out of there. Nothing sexual or untoward ever happened, and nothing ever would because my career means a lot to me. I hear the guy who made a pass on me is now a police officer. I can't say I haven't had thoughts about him pulling me over. A hot, fit guy in uniform? Mercy. I've crushed a student. It was awful. Like splat? One time at junior high there was a football game that was students versus teachers and a student crushed a teacher and cracked his ribs. This is the kind of content that I came to this thread for. Honestly, yes, I've been a university lecturer since I was 25. All of my students are adults, mostly in the 18-22 range but often a little older than that. I'm a single man. The little crushes and attractions happen from time to time. Nothing has ever come of it directly, because I'm absolutely committed to the principle of not taking advantage of my position. Whether they're 18, 45, or anywhere in between, they're a person placed under my stewardship and care, and I have a responsibility and a duty to respect that which I absolutely will not breach. I have, however, had a brief relationship with a student who had no connection to the courses I teach. We didn't meet at the university either. We met at a party with mutual friends. She just happened to be an undergraduate at the same institution where I'm employed. I didn't see any conflict of interest, and it didn't breach any regulations. I did check. Morally speaking, I don't think I have any questions to answer there. Nope. I am a perfectly ethical person who does perfectly ethical things. My thoughts are always professional. I am not just saying this because I am afraid my account is being watched. America is the best. Yay Eagles. Okay, so I'm not the teacher but the student. I had a huge crush on my freshman social studies teacher. We would joke around and I ended up being his TA. My sophomore year, he ended up quitting halfway through my junior year because of a fake rumor this one girl spread when he gave me his attention and not her. When I turned 18 he texted me to say he could talk to me now that I'm legally an adult. And then he came to my friend's house when I was 19 with wine. We ducked in his car. I teach at a community college. I had a foreign student last semester who I crushed on. To be fair, he was probably 10 years older than me. I'm young for this field. He had a sexy accent and incredible work ethic and used to wrestle at the national level. So he was in great shape. Nothing happened. He ended up being a phenomenal student, looks and accent aside, and I wrote him the most gushing recommendation letter I have ever written a student at the end of the semester. But he deserved it. Good lord. No, I teach high school students. They are smelly and immature. It's not something I have ever or would ever even consider. I know of only one teacher in the school that has rumors surrounding him. I know it does happen. But the vast majority of teachers just are not going to get crushes on students. When I was younger and started teaching high schoolers I was really nervous about it. Being so close in age it just was something that stayed on my mind. Then you realize how formative those years of life still are, and how even the most outlier of maturity will still show their true, shitty, high schooler selves to you eventually. Haha, kills any attraction you could possibly have. Professor of Archaeology here, and while I've never had a crush on a student it seems I get a plethora of undergraduates that somehow find my scruffy face and adventurous behavior attractive. I was actually teaching Archaeology 101 one day and the class was almost at an end. A student asked me about the Neolithic period which I indulged him with a brief tangent. After coming back to the topic of the barrows and chambers underneath Hagel Town, the topic of that day's lesson, a girl sitting in the front row blinked at me. I thought I saw something on her eyelids which caused me to stutter initially. She blinked again and I saw the words "I love you" written on her eyelids in mascara. He waited till you were out of school and gave it a shot online. I can't really fault him. When I was a grad student teaching courses, if a student was attractive of course I noticed. I was only like 4 years older than them on average. I can't say it actually changed the way I taught to them or graded them and obviously I didn't do anything. I will tell you that students coming onto me happened a handful of times. That was definitely uncomfortable. It was usually for extra credit. 2 stories. I taught at a university for several years, was an electrical engineering prof so there weren't too many girls coming through my class. One semester I had a very attractive girl take my class. She was gorgeous and very mature for her age. I kept everything professional and there was never any flirting in any of our reactions. Shortly after final grades were turned in I was out downtown at the bars, ran into her and she bought me a drink and told me she thought I was hot. We hooked up twice before we even made it back to her apartment that night. Not much happened after that except for the occasional drunk booty call. Reversed situation. That same semester I had a girl take my class who was obsessed with me. She would make sexual comments to me randomly, would drop by my office during office hours and ask me out. I politely asked her to stop several times, but she never let up. I had to tell my department chair about her because I had heard rumors that she was crazy and I was afraid she might make something up if I rejected her enough. If she saw me downtown at bars she'd always come and try to dance on me. Was a nightmare. Luckily nothing happened and after she took my final she never talked to me again. I just think she fantasized about sleeping with one of her teachers and me being the youngest lecturer in the department I was an immediate target. Former student here. Throwaway for obvious reasons. So, I actually have a story related to this. I actually pursued a relationship with a teacher. My senior year of high school I was a teacher aide for one of our biology teachers. I had an easy schedule and spent a lot of my free time helping her out in her classes. She had divorced her husband a few years back and pretty much never talked about it. She was attractive and very kind. Looking back it was stupid of me to risk something like that but my hormones and I got the courage up to basically ask her if she wanted to hang out. Much to my surprise she said yes. For the rest of my senior year I would sporadically head to her house and she rode my baloney pony. I never spoke to anyone about it and we never changed how we acted in school. Still keep in touch to this day. As a kindergarten teacher, I will say no. When I taught university, however, I was in the company of a lot of attractive women, in a city famed for its beautiful women. What did I do? Nothing. Just enjoyed being around hot girls all the time. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.